It makes sense that the majority of funding in infrastructure projects goes to the areas where the most people are. But the core necessities in smaller towns still need to be addressed. So when an architect is engaged to design a key project that will enhance the experience of a town, this can be the difference between a place that people visit and a place where people live. Kylee describes how the funding of built works in regional areas in Australia has been able to transform smaller communities.
In WA, it's such a vast state that it's traditionally been quite focused on Perth and the metro area in terms of good architecture. I think over the last 8 to 10 years, with the Royalties for Regions program, there was quite a shift from just being quite Perth-centric to development out into the regional areas as well. So we've been quite fortunate that we've seen quite a large number of really beautiful civic buildings and civic spaces be constructed. And what that's done for those communities is provide them the grounding of being able to create towns where people want to stay for longer. I think that our regional towns have been suffering and are suffering from an ageing population. There's a lack of things to do within those towns, and a lack of really interesting built form has meant that the places are dull. There's, the younger population isn't wanting to stay around. They're wanting to move to capital cities where there's things to do. So I think that historically, with these civic buildings that have been built, that's been important, and moving into the future, I think that needs to only increase, because particularly in the northwest of Western Australia, we have such a vast amount of opportunity up there to be able to build great towns, and that's already started happening, the likes of Karratha and Port Hedland, but a lot more can be done. And so good architecture in these spaces is just as important for creating communities as it is down in Perth, if not more so, because these buildings become real jewels in the crown, and the ability for communities to become more rounded. We've done quite a bit of work across the state in a number of civic buildings. So we've done a netball pavilion in Port Hedland and fire stations throughout the state. Done a lot of work in the aged care space across many town centres through Albany through to Geraldton. So again, these are all community building projects. To see, for example, the Port Hedland Netball Pavilion, the number of kids that are there to play sport with their families on a Saturday, it makes it worth it. And, it gives them something to do and some purpose, and helps to allow them to explore different opportunities like they would within the cities. And so that's really important, and it also helps to make our state more sustainable. You can have all these towns, but with towns, particularly in the northwest, that have always had a mining focus, if we don't create these long-lasting structures, they'll just become transient towns, and they won't be around in 30 years. So it's important that we do that.
That was Kylee from Fratelli Group, based in Perth.